Hi everyone. As we continue our special coronavirus programming on TLN, we'll be talking to Dave Wilkes, the CEO of BILD, about what this pandemic means to Canadians in the construction industry. So today we're joined by Dave Wilkes, CEO of BILD. Thank you for joining us first off, and of course for providing some very important answers for all of our viewers.
It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to the conversation, Camila.
Now, we've all seen the news that construction sites have been deemed an essential workplace for Canadians during the COVID-19 crisis. What are you doing to ensure the health and the safety of the workers that are going day in and day out to continue serving Canadians?
Yeah, and thank you for that question. It's a very important one, and our industry is focused, first and foremost on ensuring that we provide safe workplaces, healthy workplaces for the workers that are building homes for Ontarians and Torontonians throughout this period. There's been a number of steps taken by our members across the region, reducing the number of people on site at one time, providing additional sanitization spots, reorganizing the way that the work is done, and so that there's only one crew at a time in a particular unit, focusing on outside work. Well, these are some of the examples of the types of changes to workplace protocols that we're undertaking in order to manage at this very unique time.
And there is a lot of concern with outside work, of course, with these shared portable bathrooms, and there can be sometimes limited decontamination procedures. What are you doing to ensure that these concerns are being addressed as well?
So first and foremost, we recognize the concerns. We all have a heightened level of responsibility given the challenges that we're facing. What I would say to that is that if there's an unclean environment, if there's something that doesn't seem right, because we have a bigger societal responsibility to make sure that we do the right things as members of society to stop the spread of the disease. So if there are concerns, I think is probably the right word, bring them to the attention of the people on site, and ultimately any worker that feels that they're in an unsafe or unclean environment has the right, and we respect that right, not to work in that environment. So if all else fails, we encourage people to leave the site and make sure that the concerns are addressed. So we're doing our best as an industry. We have taken a number of proactive steps to do so. We're working with the Ministry of Labour on some guidelines to ensure that there are expectations are met. But ultimately, if there are concerns, do the right thing and ensure they're addressed, and if necessary, leave the site.
And I guess that leads to my next question, because due to the recent news that there were some employees on the Crosstown LRT that did test positive for coronavirus, a lot of families, a lot of unions, a lot of workers do have a lot of fears perhaps going into work, but they also have that fear that if they exercise their right to refuse work, they might face some consequences. What would you say to those workers that are kind of stuck between the fear of the virus, but the fear of losing their jobs?
Yeah, it's a very unsettled time, and certainly we can understand those fears. I think that I would hope and I would expect from our members' point of view, and our members are those that are building residential and commercial buildings, so not necessarily the specific example that you mentioned, but if there are cases, if there is a case where someone on a work site tests positive, I expect that they would be managed in an appropriate way. And as I repeat, Camila, we all do have different sets of responsibilities at this very unique time, and I would expect and hope that our members would recognize those concerns and not be in a position that you describe where folks are fearful of any sort of recourse associated with making sure that they do the right thing from a society point of view and do the right thing from a personal safety point of view.
Of course, and a lot of our viewers, they do come from Portuguese, Italian, Spanish backgrounds, which are cultures that are heavily involved in the construction industry, and many of them have expressed their concern, or I guess their worry of why not just pause or stop construction. And I want to know what your thoughts are on this. What would be the consequences of potentially putting a pause on all of the work that is being done across the province?
That's a very fair question, and I appreciate you answering it. And you're right. The folks that work on the construction sites, the folks that are involved in building homes for people and offices for people, those are very, very important jobs. And I think, the part of the reason that that we need to first and foremost recognize the health and safety needs of the workers on the site, and that has to be a preoccupation and has to be the objective that we have. But at the same time, many of the buildings that your viewers and others in the community are working on have been promised to people, and they're new homes for them. The current focus of the industry is to complete those projects, especially the ones that are near occupancy, so that people are moving in. Because another societal responsibility that we have is shelter for folks. And I believe that there is no greater responsibility than the work that our members and their partners on their work sites do in order to provide those homes for folks. So I think that recognizing the need for a safe and healthy workplace, but we also recognize the need that these are homes for people that are expecting to move in, that may have already sold an existing home, be moving out of a rental property. So it's very important to complete that work too. So that's why we believe there's a continued need to get these units that are close to occupancy finished.
So just to follow up on my last question, do you think it is worth it to potentially be putting some workers' health at risk in order to continue to complete these projects that many Canadians need?
So the short answer is the priority has to be health and safety. And that has to be the priority, and it is the priority. So as I indicated, there's been a number of proactive steps to ensure the health and safety of the work sites. We are working with the government in order to enhance those and quite honestly, continue to follow the guidance of medical officers of health, that if there is a challenge as the one that you described, Camila, and that the work is deemed to be unsafe or the sites are not in order, then obviously we would respect that.
So speaking of health and safety, there are so many frontline healthcare workers that do need masks right now. Hospitals may be running low, and some of these masks are the same kind of masks that are used on construction sites by the workers. I'm wondering if there's been any initiatives or any efforts to make sure that masks are being brought to the healthcare workers that need it.
Short answer, and thank you for that question, Camila, is yes. The N95 masks, as they're called, is what is required by both used in our industry and used by frontline healthcare workers. We're doing a number of things. We have reached out to our members to see if there's any masks that aren't being used on sites and in workplaces right now, and working to donate those to various hospitals across the region. But additionally, we're also reaching out to see if we can procure masks from suppliers. They're obviously in very high demand from a global perspective, but where there are those opportunities, we're working with our members to make those purchases and donate. It's been difficult. I don't want to raise expectations, but it is because the masks are so highly sought after for obvious reasons, but it is something that we are committed to and doing our best to be part of the solution.
Perfect. And before we let you go, is there any message that you want to share with Canadians and, of course, with all of our viewers back home?
I thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for the work that many of your viewers do on our construction sites to build homes for people. It is a fundamental responsibility we have as a society, and I'm grateful for the work folks do, and I just encourage everybody to stay healthy.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dave Wilkes of BILD, for joining us today on TLN.
Thank you for the opportunity.